In this video, we're getting into some stuff you should know about living here in San Diego as a lifelong local. It's just stuff I've come across, some things that I have experienced over just the past few weeks, and I was like, I need to make a video about this because I've lived here my whole life. And it's not stuff like the weather, the traffic, all that kind of stuff. We have a bunch of videos on pros and cons of each city where we go over a little bit of that. This is stuff like insider baseball stuff you need to know, stuff you're not going to find too many places. The first one is going to be pretty creepy. The last one is something you may or may not know about San Diego, so stay tuned for that. I'm Chris Erickson, local real estate agent here in North County, San Diego, and I love making these videos for you, but I'm also a real estate agent here in North County, San Diego, so my team and I really love helping people move out this way. So if you guys are kicking around the idea, pondering, thinking about moving out here, be sure to hit us up, call, text, email. We got your back when moving here to North County, San Diego. So a lot of these things, it's kind of pros, kind of cons, but it's stuff that I think you should really know about living here in San Diego. So let's get into it right now. So this first thing is something that I experience every year right now during this time of the year, kind of late summer, early fall. We're right here in the middle of August, but I kind of was like, I need to put this in the video because I had experienced the other night when I was coming home from softball, or I got home from softball. I have a detached garage, walking back to my house. It's pitch black. It's like 9:30, 10 at night. Boom, right in my face. I walk through a spider web. We're right in spider season right now. And I looked it up. They're called orb weaver spiders or garden spiders. They make these beautiful webs, kind of cruising along. They can get pretty big. Last year, there was a huge one kind of going from my house to a tree to the ground. It was pretty gnarly, but my wife made me kind of relocate it. So anyways, it happens every single year, something to be aware of. It says they're not dangerous or anything, but if you are cruising around at night, you know, just be aware. You might walk through a few spider webs. Even in the morning as I'm taking out the trash or something, you know, you might get a few spider webs to the face. And the spiders I'm talking about, these orb weavers, mostly they are outside, kind of in the bushes, you know, tree to tree, roof, in your backyard, wherever it might be. It's a good thing too. They do catch bugs and stuff, but we also do have a few other spiders. Something I've seen a few times, not a ton of times, but we do have tarantulas here in San Diego. A lot of these canyons and stuff, if you live near one of those, you might see one. Black widows are just a common thing out here. Just kind of beware, they are the more poisonous ones. So you will see them from time to time, kind of in dark places. They don't really make these giant big webs or anything, but we do have spiders, but right now we are in the middle of spider season. Next up is another season right here in San Diego, and it's a little more fun than spider season. It's something we call locals summer. We're coming up to it right on the edge. Let's call it like September, October. And it's a time where the weather is gorgeous. It's usually pretty warm, like mid 70s-ish, especially good times for going to the beaches. A lot of the tourists, a lot of people cruising into town are gone. Everybody's kind of back at school. It's a lot more mellow. So the tourist season kind of lulls down. We get to enjoy, as locals here, kind of everything that San Diego has to offer, where it's a little less busy. As you're cruising around, you're going to the beach, you're going surfing, all that kind of stuff. The water is also a little bit warmer. So as you're hopping in, it's a good time to kind of get in the ocean, and you can just wear your trunks, not necessarily need a wetsuit. Most of the year, you're gonna have to use a wetsuit. You don't have to. I do a lot of the times. I like to be warm, but these next few months, the water warms up pretty decent. So you might be able to hop in there and enjoy the ocean in a little bit warmer temp. We just went to the beach up at the harbor over in Oceanside a few weekends ago, just for like a little family dinner. Mom, dad, sisters, all that, brothers, all that kind of stuff came out there, enjoyed, you know, just had some sandwiches and whatnot. But we showed up at probably 5 o'clock when a lot of people should be, you know, usually leaving the beach. It was packed. I mean, there were so many dang people there. It was kind of the last weekend before Oceanside started school, the kind of last weekend of more or less summer for a lot of people. So I think that was part of the reason. Parking was kind of tough in there, and it was just a lot of people. So coming into September, October, a lot of that is a lot more mellow. So as you are cruising around, it is a good time to hit the beaches. This next item is something that doesn't just happen here in San Diego, but all of California, kind of all of the Southwest right now, and it is drought. The reason I bring it up because we just got these pamphlets in the mail from a local water district, a Livenhain Municipal Water District, and they just kind of went into kind of where we are in the drought, what's going on. And right now there's nothing mandatory restriction-wise. A few years back, they restricted kind of when you could wash cars, when you could do a lot of stuff. We haven't quite got there yet. The voluntary ones that they're asking for right now is kind of certain days, don't water your grass, all that kind of stuff, water your landscaping, if you have like automatic stuff, turn it on for like 10 minutes at a time only for each little station, repair any sort of leaks or anything at your house within 72 hours. And if you have a big leak, usually they'll come out and notify you because they could kind of see that in the water meters, what's going on there. But right now, like all of San Diego, if you watch any of the news, Lake Mead is drying up quite a bit. The Colorado River is down quite a bit. There's a lot less snowpack in the mountains, and that's kind of where Southern California gets a lot of its water water from. So we are in drought conditions. They go by different levels, but right now it's just kind of getting bumped up a little bit. So we'll kind of keep eye on that, but it is something to be aware of if you are moving out here. One of the benefits of living here in San Diego, if you have kids and they enjoy sports or good at sports, you're trying to get them involved in sports, it is a year-round sports season here, playing all the time. I know Cassidy, who you see on this channel a lot as well, his kids are actually playing dual sports coming up here, soccer and baseball, but it goes year-round. There's fall ball for baseball, there's spring ball, there's football, there's flag football, there is surf camps, there is surfing, there's surf leagues, there's all kinds of stuff, anything you could think of, and it's year-round because we do have weather that's pretty darn good. You will see a lot of California, Southern California specifically, has a lot of athletes that come out of here because they're able to practice at all times. So it is a good place for that, kind of keep the kids busy as well, doing those activities, kind of learn some teamwork as well, and you can play it throughout the year. Next on the list is important if you are moving out here and you potentially want to do some remodeling, do some building, do some extra stuff to your house that you are going to need permits for, and it is city versus county. So San Diego County is really big, which we'll get into in a little bit here, but each individual city has their own planning department, their own permit department. So you got to go through each city wherever you are. But it's funny because certain cities, I was talking to my brother who did some remodeling over in Vista. He is in the city of Vista, but his contractor was working on a home about 2-3 blocks away, and that is the county of San Diego. Even though it's within Vista, it's not within the city limits of Vista. It is within unincorporated Vista. So if you are living in certain places, it really depends on kind of where you live within the city, who you're going to have to deal with for doing any sort of renovations or building or permits and that kind of stuff. And it's not a huge deal. It's just certain cities are a little more efficient, a little easier to work with. If you have to go through county, it might just take a little longer because it's just bigger. There's a lot more people. There's a lot more kind of permits coming through there. They're a lot more spread out. Their base is down in San Diego. But if you are in that unincorporated Vista, they're going to have to come out, check that for all the, inspections and whatnot. So it really depends on where you are. You can get stuff done. Every city is a little different. Encinitas is pretty restrictive, but certain cities elsewhere are not. It really depends on where you are. Encinitas doesn't have any county, but once you get kind of on the border, there's like areas of Escondido, like Elephant Forest and all that kind of stuff, which are county. So it's really city specific and depends on where you live for where you're gonna have to pull those permits and go through that process. Kind of on the same front as remodeling or pulling permits, some of this stuff you don't have to pull permits for that I'm gonna talk about right now. But some of the contractors right here in San Diego, they do have their slow times where they do potentially offer discounts if you can kind of schedule your work during that time. So I was just chatting with my painter and he was saying that their slow times are kind of December, January, and February. So right now he's super busy, but he's offering people a little bit of a discount if he can schedule those out during those times when they're less busy. So chat with different contractors. If you have some flexibility on kind of your remodels or what you're doing, obviously, painting, you're not going to pull permits, but if you're doing some other stuff, it might make sense to kind of call around and see if they do have slow times where you can kind of schedule it out. So it really depends on different trades and what you're looking for. Like roofers, probably the best time is going to be during those summer months when you don't have a ton of rain, because when you do have rain here in San Diego, which it doesn't happen that often, they are going to get a lot of calls because that's the times that we're going to see any roofs leaking or anything that needs repairs. Every trade's going to be a little different, but there are times throughout the year where they might be a little less busy and be able to offer you a little discount. And next up on the list is going to be allergies. How are the allergies here in San Diego? It really depends. Obviously, if you're very allergic to stuff. I used to think growing up that I could kind of tell when there's pollution there because it's a little tougher to breathe. It was kind of a little, you get those allergy feelings, but come to find out, I'm kind of allergic to, I got the allergy test, got allergic to everything. So that's kind of what it was. But a lot of people are not at all. My wife actually gets bad allergies when we get the kind of easterly winds, the Santa Ana winds coming off the mountains as opposed to our normal winds where they come off the ocean. So it really kind of depends person to person. I was just looking up a study, and 2022 San Diego ranked out of the top 100 cities. Number 1 was Scranton, PA. 88 on the list was San Diego, right above 89, which was Washington, D.C. So if you're coming from the DMV area of the United States to San Diego, which we've had a bunch of clients actually move from Virginia and stuff out this way, it might be the same. There might just be different allergens in the air, but nonetheless, there are some allergies here, and it really is season dependent, wind dependent, all that kind of stuff. But apparently, we're not that high on the list. So 88 out of 100, it's pretty good. Now, if you see my face start to shine a little bit, it's super hot out today, a little bit humid. So just standing here making this video, I'm sweating a little bit. Nonetheless, not every house here in San Diego has air conditioning or even ceiling fans. So depending on where you live, a lot of the newer construction is going to have that, or at least be plumbed for air conditioning. But not every house is going to have it. A lot of the coastal regions don't have air conditioning. A lot of the coastal regions too have fireplaces, which is kind of weird. I don't know. Nobody really uses them all that much. But for the AC front, if you are specifically looking for that, you can kind of put it into any house. My folks live over in San Marcos, kind of where it gets super hot. And their house is built in 1978. No air conditioning there. I live in Encinitas, kind of about 3 miles from the coast. And there is no air conditioning. A lot of the newer construction, let's call it San Alejo, where Cassidy lives, definitely have air conditioning because it does get warm there. One of the options is, like what we do here, is we got a ceiling fan. So get that thing cranking. You open up the window once it cools down at night. Also something that my neighbors have put in. So it's probably about $1,200 to $1,500, but it could vary. It just really depends. But it is called a whole house fan. And basically you kick it on. It sits kind of in the top of your house is the highest point, and it kicks on, or you kick it on when it kind of cools down outside. Open up those downstairs windows and let that cool air. It sucks all the hot air, blows it into the attic and out of the house, and brings in the cool air. And just to be honest, without the AC, even with the fan going and the window open, on some nights, it is unbelievably hot. We have a 2-story house, so we're on that 2nd story where it does get a little warmer. It gets pretty darn warm. It might be a few weeks throughout the year. Maybe get a few extra fans, get that whole house fan, get an estimate for AC, and you should be good to go. Next up on the list is something that every homeowner here in North County, San Diego has, and it is fire insurance, and you are definitely going to need it. Obviously, if you have a lender going through the process, they're going to require it, but definitely something that people have here in North County, San Diego. Obviously, there are different seasons, kind of right now where it gets super hot. We get those easterly winds, which I mentioned earlier. That's kind of the fire seasons here, even though it's kind of spread out over the years. Like we get fires kind of anytime throughout the year, but the bigger ones tend to be in that fire season section, kind of that late summer to fall. And depending on where you live, your fire insurance may be more expensive. So canyons or high fire zones, all that kind of stuff, your insurance policies will be a little higher. And in some areas too, I saw that some insurers are dropping policies. So kind of on the eastern portions of San Diego, North County, Valley Center, Ramona, Alpine, that kind of area is where some of those fire policy drop rates have gone up. But depending on where you live, near canyons, near higher zones, like I mentioned, your fire insurance may be a little bit more. So talk to your insurance policy and kind of see where you lie on that. Most homes are going to be fine, but you are going to want to double check on that and kind of see where the rates are for your particular house. Next one, as you are cruising around, kind of looking at neighborhoods, or if you visit or anything, you fly into downtown San Diego. That is the central area, but San Diego County as a whole is huge. It's just over 4,600 square miles, roughly the size of Connecticut, which is about 5,500 plus square miles. So it is a big swath of land. A lot of the areas, kind of as you go east or into the mountains and stuff, a lot less populated, a lot more rural. There's a lot of agriculture as well in different parts. A lot of the cities and dense areas, kind of San Diego downtown property, and going out from there, North Parks, Hillcrest, all that kind of stuff is pretty dense. When you get into North County where we are, it's definitely, cities, Carlsbad, Encinitas, Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos. San Marcos is actually getting more dense. They're growing a lot right now. But that's kind of where all the population is. And then as you go towards the east, it's kind of spread out. There's desert out there. Like I mentioned, there's mountains. So there's a lot of area to roam. Going from north to south, it's about 65 miles. Going from east to west, it's about 86 miles. So it is big. But even in the cities and stuff where you're going to be cruising, commuting, enjoying restaurants, all that kind of stuff, it is still pretty spread out. So in a lot of videos too, we mentioned it is a commuter town. You're gonna be driving, you're gonna need a car. Even going from like sometimes in like North Oceanside to let's say South Carlsbad, it could take like 40-45 minutes depending on what roads you're taking. If you're going El Camino Real during rush hour, if you're going the freeways, they get backed up sometimes. They are kind of building that out to make it a little bit better. But it is a lot bigger, especially when you start exploring. There's some areas of San Diego I still haven't been. I've lived here my whole life. So it's cool because there's a lot of different, like if you want to go to the mountains, it is really neat. You can get some pretty views up there. You go out to the desert, you go to Borrego, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different climates, different areas, but it is a lot bigger than you would expect. And something very important for, I'm gonna say everybody, because everybody needs to eat. How is the San Diego food scene? I'm gonna say pretty darn good. I'm not a foodie, but I like to make food at home a lot of home meals. So a lot of times we'll get like farm boxes from local farms delivered to our door with a bunch of vegetables and all kinds of fun stuff. We'll kind of make a menu around that. But there's also a ton of local farmers markets, so a ton of fresh fruit with, you know, that agricultural land that we mentioned earlier. There's a lot of fresh vegetables and produce and fruits and avocados and all that kind of stuff at all these farmers markets. Every city basically has their own farmers market pretty much weekly. So you go there. They also have, since we do live right by the ocean, a ton of fresh fish and seafood. How about the restaurant scene here? There are a ton of different restaurants and different styles and different vibes and different price points and all that kind of stuff here in San Diego. Since San Diego is so big, kind of like we mentioned earlier, the city of San Diego proper has a lot of places down there. But as you spread out, every city is going to have some really great local spots. Any of the downtown areas, downtown Carlsbad, downtown Oceanside, and kind of that 101 corridor is blowing up right now. There's a ton of new spots popping up, a ton of new good concepts. Downtown Encinitas, Solana Beach, and a lot of these places too in different cities, just within little strip malls too, you'll find some little secret gems, some hidden sushi places, some hidden Italian spots, some really good Thai food. Those are all in Encinitas, by the way. So kind of search those out and find out where all those are. There's also some really highly touted chefs who have open spots here. Ember and Rye was opened recently, like a few years ago now, just in Carlsbad by top chef Richard Blaze. So if you watch that show, he does have a restaurant right here. Claudette Zepeda has a place in the newly opened Elia Maria Hotel right on the edge of Carlsbad and Encinitas called Vega. And then some local chefs that have had their hands in a few different restaurants as their executive chef, Chef Bachelor. If you follow him on Instagram, his newest project is a collaboration with Tony Hawk. It's called Chicken Hawk. It is in the works right now, but he also was part of Campfire up in Carlsbad, Jeanette Jolie. So he's got, there's just a lot of little spots like that, a lot of really good people making some really good food here in San Diego. There's also some restaurant groups that have like different restaurant concepts throughout San Diego. One of the well-known ones is the Cohen Group. They have places kind of all over the place. The Lucadia Company is, well, in Lucadia, they have a bunch of good spots that have been opening up recently. Their trademark white building, just white outside. They just opened Hamburger Hut. They have a deli called Moto Deli, Valentina restaurant, which is phenomenal. It's a pretty good little spot right in Lucadia. Consortium Holdings, they have a bunch of spots in downtown and kind of the surrounding areas, including a speakeasy in a mall. So go look that up. But there's a lot of cool little spots here in San Diego. So if you do enjoy food, which who doesn't? Like I said, I don't go out that often, but I love all the options that we do have here. It is a great spot to live. And if you want to learn more about living here in San Diego, check that next video popping up. We have a ton of videos on our channel as well. Let you know everything you need to know about living here in North County, San Diego. So if you are thinking about moving out here, hit us up, call, text, email. We got your back when moving here to San Diego.